video blog for this week, looking back on week 3 work with the Mustang. It is the middle of week 4 now, June 24th, and we've started to have some interesting interactions and progress in our training. But before I can get to that update, I need to show you what I've done to get to this point. Now, a note on week 3, I noticed, and you might notice in some of the video clips for today, that the Mustang was taking some sore steps. It looks like she either got a stone bruise or maybe even was starting to develop an abscess on one of her front legs. And I started to notice this at the very beginning of week 3. And being a wild horse, Mustangs are really reluctant to show any signs of pain. Of course, it depends horse to horse, but I always want to play it safe and assume that she's going to try and hold in as much as possible and not show me anything. So as she's going around, I notice she starts to take some limping steps every once in a while. You can kind of see it there. And so it actually ended up getting worse before it got better, and we had a few days off. And I would still spend time with her on those days, but we really moved away from anything that required her to move, which somewhat limits us on what we can do, and really just focused on spending some time together. I tried to desensitize her to the whips during that time, but in a really non-confrontational way where it was just, I would get to a point where she was very comfortable with the distance we had and start moving that whip around. And on the days where it was the worst, I just kind of left her be entirely, aside from feeding her and cleaning up her pen. And then that foot, I don't know if she popped an abscess or if it was just a stone bruise, but she stopped showing those limping signs towards the end of the week, and we were able to move back on. So the next blog I post, blog number 5, that should be an interesting one where we start to see some of the theories of my training style in action. But for this one this week, really what it was all about is spending the time together while we had some downtime and relationship building, which is kind of what we've been doing this whole time. So I started desensitizing her to the lunge whip, which is going to be the primary tool that I use in the next phase of our training. So here you can see what that looked like. This was one of the days where she was kind of sore, really reluctant to move. And I just kind of took advantage of that. Obviously, she's not crazy stressed. Her head isn't high up in the air. She's fine looking away from me, ignoring me. She'll lick and chew. I swing that lunge whip until I see a sign of relaxation. That can be typically her blinking, but also sometimes it just is her nostrils coming back to a normal size. And then this here was one of our first interactions where I was already slapping the ground with the whip right in front of her, and I was able to reach up and rub her on the shoulder with it. And she realized pretty quickly that I could swat flies with that thing. And we were getting towards the end of a session here, so I pushed a little bit farther than I would at the beginning of a session, kind of stuck with it a little bit more, but we found a good spot to end. And then the next day when I came out, something surprising happened. The Mustang discovered the use of the whip. And oh boy, did she figure out what humans were put on this earth to do.